Thanks for riding along with Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. One of our favorite guests is here, Guy Olson. He's with Performance Fuel Specialists, and he's going to tell us about diesel fuels. But first, I want to tell you, there's a whole lot to learn about diesel and gasoline additives. So go to his website, fuelguys.com, and you can subscribe to the newsletter. You're going to learn a whole lot more than we can explain here, and you'll get free shipping on anything over $30. But first, let's talk about the task at hand here, Guy. We're talking about wintertime, colder climates. And of course, there's something here for everybody, not just people that live in cold climates. But when diesel fuels get cold, they don't flow as well because they gel. So there are a lot of anti-gels out there. You guys have one at PFS. How is it different from the other products out there?
That's a great question. And first, I want to explain the technology behind how an anti-gel actually functions. So in the diesel fuel, you either have a blend, which people in the cold are familiar with, but in diesel fuel, anti-gels chemically change the fuel. So what we do is we take and change all the polarity of the molecules of the wax. So when it gets cold, they're all positive. So when it gets cold, they want to congeal and join together, but because they're all the same polarity, they push apart. So the goal is to treat all of the molecules in your fuel and keep them from gelling. However, number 2 fuel with a chemically altered molecule is still number 2 fuel.
Okay, and what's the difference between number 1 and number 2 diesel?
Great. So number 1 fuel is thinner. Now it has less wax, but it's thin and it flows easy because diesel fuel is an oil. It's not like gasoline. It is actually an oil. And when it gets cold, it becomes thick. Now your motor oil does the same, but your motor oil filter has a bypass. So when it's cold, it'll bypass the filter. Not the case in your fuel filter. And what's happened with the latest technology is the fuel filters have become so tight, the tolerances, they're down to about a 3 micron is what you're seeing, where they used to be 30. That's 10 times tighter than they've ever been. And what's happening is it's hard to pull that cold, thick fuel through these filters when it gets cold. So the benefit of an anti-gel has become more limited based on the amount of flow. So it's actually not uncommon to have somebody have a fuel failure, but it's not because of wax, it's due to the problem of flow. They can't pull enough fuel fast enough through the filter to stay running.
So number 1 diesel is less viscous. Is it an anti-gel?
So number 1 fuel will flow easier and help you pass through that filter, but it is not an anti-gel. So when you add number 1 to your fuel, generally it takes a 50-50 blend, or 50% 1 and 50% number 2, in order to get even a 10 or 15 degree reduction in operating temperature. Where generally an anti-gel like ours, if you're using it, can get you 20 to 30 degree reduction in cold weather operation.
So what's better, a blend or an anti-gel?
First off, the cost of a blend is substantially more. A 50-50 blend is going to cost you about 30 cents a gallon more. And number 1 has less power, less performance. It has far less lubricity as well, and number 2 doesn't have any anyways. And so the cost itself of the additive is about 10 cents a gallon. So for 10 cents a gallon more, I can keep you running at almost every temperature that you're going to experience throughout the winter except the extreme cold days. So literally you can run number 2 diesel fuel for all but maybe 2 weeks of an entire winter. Save yourself that 20 cents a gallon, and you get the extra lubricity because these are complete formula. We're going to take out the water. We're going to help with that icing itself. We're going to lubricate up to a 25% increase in lubricity, and we're going to stabilize that fuel for storage as well as the oxidation, which we referred to in the Power Plus summer diesel treatment.
There is some amazing technology behind everything that PFS does, and you can find it all at fuelguys.com. That's also where you can sign up for the newsletter. By the way, Guy's going to be back in just a few weeks to talk more about diesel. And we'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com. So keep it right here.